Hi guys, in the previous lesson we talked about the Android components. Let's dive deeply into activity topic. While we are using the app, like Instagram, we can notice that all of the functionality of the program is divided into different screens, like download screen, feed with a post, player, account screen, with the photos and videos, search screen, chats, etc. Each of these screens is a separate activity with its own design and logic, and we can switch between them using intent. Imagine that we're on the main screen. By tracking clicks on the photo, you can ask the intent to open the player activity. After that, the user will see the player activity and the previous one will be destroyed. After clicking on the username, we can ask the intent to open the account activity. So, we can switch between screens using intent. Let's create two activities with a transition between them. For this, we have to create an XML design, create a Kotlin class, and indicate this activity into manifest file. So, open the Android Studio and select New Project. Here, we have to select No Activity and then press Next. Give it the name of the new project, like Two Activities. Then finish. So the first step is to create the XML file with our own design for the first activity. So in the app and resources, let's create a new folder, Android resource directory. Instead of the values, let's select the layout and press OK. So now we have a layouts folder. Inside of this folder we can create the design to each our activity. So let's create the first one. Select the layout resource file and give the name activity first. Here inside of this activity, we can add some image view. Give the width match parent and height 400 dp. So now, as you can see, we have some image empty view. To make it not empty, let's add one new attribute, Android background. So now, we just added a background to our image. We just selected some default IC Launcher background, but instead of this, we can add any image you want. You can download from the internet some image, put it into the drawable file, and then we can use this one for our image view. Additionally, we have to indicate the Android ID. This ID should be unique. Let's write here image view. Okay, that's it. Then the second step is to create the Kotlin class. So first of all, it should extend the fragment activity. Inside of this fragment activity, we should specify our layout ID, like resources, layouts, activity first. If you hold the command or control button on your keyboard and press on activity first, so you will go directly to this file, activity first. Then, the second step is to notify the manifest about our new activity. So let's write here the activity tag and write it here the first activity. So inside of this activity, we have to specify the intent filter. We have to specify this intent filter only to one activity in our application that should be launched firstly. So action main will told that this activity is default one, and the category will say that this default activity should be launched firstly when we open the application. So let's try and launch our activity. So as you can see right now, we can see some image view and our first activity. Let's add another one. So first of all, let's create the XML file and say activity second. Inside here, let's add some text view as we did it in the previous lessons. And right here the second activity. Alright, and let's change the text size to the 32 SP. So now it's much more bigger. Additionally, let's add some button to go back to the first activity. And give its name, like Android ID. Button back. Alright. So, the next step is to create the Kotlin class file with the name second activity. Alright. So now we just added two activities with its own XML files, with its own design, and also we notified the manifest file with the first activity and with the second activity. So now let's make the transition between these activities. So in the first activity that we have right now, let's override one only method. It's override fun on resume. This onResume method would be called when the activity will be created and when the user can interact with this UI, with this first activity. So after the creation of first activity, we can subscribe on the image clicks, and when the user clicks on this image, so we can know about this and we can open the second activity and close the first one. So let's write it here, val image equals this. Find view by ID. Here we have to specify which type we are trying to find. Right now it's an image view, so let's write it here, image view, and inside of the scopes we have to specify the ID, because in the one file we might have a couple of images. So let's specify the image view ID, resources ID, image view. Alright, so right now we accessed to this image view, and we might implement this method with the name setOnClickListener. This method listens to any clicks on this image from the user side. So if the user clicks on this image, this code inside of these scopes will be executed. So let's write start activity. This method can start any activities if we want. For example, let's create intent that we told. And inside of this intent we can specify from where to where we would like to make the transition, like from this activity to the second activity class Java. So let's test. As you can see, the initial activity is the first activity, and if the user clicks on this image, we make the transition to the second activity. So finally, let's implement the previous button. For this, go to the second activity and make the same logic as we wrote on the first activity. Just copy and paste here. But as you can see, we are trying to find some image, but on the second activity we have only the previous button. It's a button with the button back ID. So let's change something. Let's change the name to the button. Type of the view that we are trying to find, it would be the button, and the ID would be button back. Then we would like to make the transition from this second activity to the second activity. So let's change the transition from this second activity to the first activity. And let's launch and test. So let's click on the image view. Now we see the second activity. Let's click to the previous button and we go back to the first activity. In this case, we can add multiple activities and make the transition between them. In the next videos, we will talk about the activity lifecycle. So, thanks for watching this video and see you soon.